Hey, how are you? Woo! When I tell you, I was on two tires today. Hi, Naisha. I don't have my glasses on. Hello, everyone. Hey, Facebook. Yeah, I just turned it off.
So far, I'm still checking it out.
Yes. I better put my glasses on so I can be able to help you recognize some of the names.
Okay, her internet, she's froze. She's gonna come back in. Hey,
Without
Natalia and Elbert, greetings to you. It seems like we're been having rain today, so we've been having a little technical difficulties. We're gonna have Pamela come back in, and we're gonna take it from there. But I know you're gonna enjoy the topic today. We're talking about the mindset and relationships, and I am so excited about that. Okay, let me get Pamela in right here and do it one more time. Okay. Oh,
Okay, am I back in?
you're back in. Boy, I tell you, this technology got its own little attitude, though, but it will act right, okay?
Better act right in the name of Jesus.
For those who are new, I am Cheryl Brown, licensed marriage family therapist.
I'm Shakir, licensed clinical social worker.
And the Authentic Talk podcast, you have two therapists with two background in a therapeutic process, but we come together as one, and you find that we have a lot of similarities. Maybe have different terminologies. That's what makes it so interesting. Excuse me. And then we code it with the biblical perspective because the same things we face now they were happened back then. It's just a different time, a different season, and we cover various topics: depression, fear, relationship, jealousy. You don't want to miss next week. We should have our guest speaker, Lady Vicky Kemp, and she's going to be talking about the mindset wrapped in jealousy, and that is going to be deep. And so, this is what I encourage and challenge everyone. Bring two friends with you. Okay, we're trying to establish a family. We're establishing a community. So start telling your friends, telling your family, telling your the people who like you, the people who dislike you. Tell them to come and join in an authentic talk so we can develop this family together. Also, if you have any questions or even if you have any prayer requests, you say, or you might say, Cheryl and Pamela, I want you to cover this topic for us. I have this certain prayer request. And you can also get in contact with me through Cheryl underscore masterpiece women. That's Cheryl underscore masterpiece women. Or Facebook is Cheryl Brown, Brown, and you can go my Facebook page and messenger part of the Facebook page to get in contact. But we just love to hear some topics that you would like covered. If you have any questions or if you have any prayer requests, but let's go ahead and get started. And when we open our mouth, wisdom will flow. And I hope everybody have your pencil and pen, your notebook and pass, because Pamela and I are going to break some things down. And Pamela, I believe this topic here is going to really, because you and I were talking, really cause us to reflect, to understand why some certain things, why we are the way we are based upon that timeline in the past, and what some changes that we need to mentally grow, so we can make sure that the right people come in our life. And we really had a deep conversation this morning, which was real authentic. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and it's good. So we're letting you know, Pamela and I, we just don't be making up topics. We talk about our experiences, how we're growing and develop. And when we have special guests, we listen to their podcast, their session over and over again, and we always pull up nuggets that we're changing. Because look, it makes no sense for we're teaching you, and then we think we act like we have it all together. We don't have it all together.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
watch. we may not be perfect, but we are striving for perfection. And so that means constantly changing so we can be the better for ourselves, for our families, for our friends, and so forth. But the introduction, a little backdrop, the recap that we had last week, Pamela and the Authentic Talk family, that was a good podcast
That was
last week. And people are just reviewing. Hey, Donese, people are just reviewing and reviewing and reviewing. And she talked about the modifying mindset, how to shift your mindset, and how it is so, how people can be so easily brainwashed to believe things
Mhm.
that was once considered not right to make it considered to be right, and
Mhm.
how we live in a generation that the mindset has become neutral, and how that would affect them in the future in their relationships and developing families and dealing with life in general. And so, she talked about how do you guard your mind, and she said, "What do you ear in your eye gate, your ear gate,
Mhm.
what you the words that come out of your mouth." So that was an excellent podcast on last week, and I encourage all of those who listening and those who hear thereafter, go on my IG profile, click on that last week's session on shifting the mind, and listen to it over and over again. But Pamela, what we're going to talk about today, we're just going to kind of piggyback, but we're going to go a little bit deeper. We talk about the mindset and relationships. We're not just talking about the man and woman relationship or whatever. We're talking about friendship and so for relationships you have on your job. We're covering all relationship this apply to. Am I about right, Pamela?
You're right. Let's go for it.
And
Let me
so,
y'all get comfortable while I'm getting comfortable.
so what we're saying here, what type of relationship? Here's the question. What type of relationship is your mind attracted to? You need to write that down for yourself.
Mhm.
What type, what what type of relationship is your mind attracted to? That is so important. And
Mhm.
your mind is attracted to what you think you deserve. Somebody write that. You deserves. Your mind is attracted to what you think you deserve. And your
Mhm.
mindset, it helps shape your identity you possess. Let me say it again. Your mindset helps shape the identity that you possess. So, Pamela, here we go. So we talked about the origin, and we always have to go back because everything it starts in the mind. Am I about right? Everything is in the
Starts in your mind. Yeah.
Mhm. And the question number one was who or what? Somebody need to type this down. Who or what develop your thoughts? Go ahead, Pamela. Then I'm going to hit. And we talked about that timeline.
Mhm.
Could you break down that timeline for me?
Yeah. So we were talking about how there's a timeline for all of our lives. We probably don't pay too much attention to it because we don't think it doesn't really apply to us every day. But when you have to go back and recall, just like we were doing this morning, we were going back kind of recalling like, okay, when did we, first start being interested in this and interested in that? And I was sharing with Cheryl that I remember when I was like 7 years old, and that was my introduction into prayer and learning a little bit more about faith and how that goes. But I told her for some reason from age 7 until age 15 it was a shift for me because my focus, that was kind of like my what you call it, Cheryl, the stance of
Mm-hmm.
you just knowing who you are, and
Mm-hmm.
your family, what you see with your family, your nuclear family, and what you see with your extended family, that's a part of shaping you and your thoughts. But
Mm-hmm.
somewhere along around age 15, that timeline shifted for me. It was no longer my family, my nuclear family. It wasn't no longer my extended family shaping me. And it wasn't no longer me, with my relationship with God. It was more so like my friends. And when I started to like, oh, the light came on when I started to like boys. And so that timeline is very important because whatever you see in front of you, I was telling Cheryl, you tend to mimic it because it's learned behavior until you figure out, okay, I kind of like that, what my aunt is doing and what my cousin is doing, but I kind of don't like this. And so you kind of grab and pull what you think you want to tag along with you with your identity. And so that's when I noticed a shift for me. And then I want to go back just a little bit before that, Cheryl. When you start thinking about relationships, whether it is platonic, whether it is an intimate relationship, that all starts with your thoughts. We all think that, oh, when we get somebody that we like as an intimate, relationship, it starts with our heart. That is not true. It starts with our thoughts first,
Mhm.
of what we think and how we want to go about that relationship, and then eventually our heart catch up with it. So, I remember that talk that my dad had with me, Cheryl, when he had to have that talk with me, when he recognized that I liked boys and I was into boys, because you kind of come away from being with your friends and playing with baby dolls and liking your favorite music crush or whatever, and then it switch gears. And so he had that talk with me, but his conversation wasn't consistent with me. So since it wasn't consistent with me, that wasn't my blueprint. Had he been consistent with that conversation on why I need to focus on this, or why I need to wait on this, then I would have like paid more attention to that. But then I started paying attention to what I felt was what I needed to do, and what my timeline, consisted of, who was in front of me, giving me that, what is it called? Like, being, I guess, impressing upon me,
Mhm.
certain things in my life.
Mhm. Um, Pamela, before we go any further, I want to welcome when I look this way, Authentic Talk, I'm looking over here because we have Facebook and YouTube
Yes, we
online.
do.
And welcome our Facebook family, YouTube family, and Jenny
Yeah.
Richardson. I see you over there, and I want to let you know I love you. And you keep typing in. And if Jenny, if you can share with other people's for me, I'd be most appreciative.
Yes.
Annette, I just want to let you know I love you and I appreciate you. And Pamela, some people may not know, but let me break something down about the mind
Okay.
that as a child, say for instance, when as a child, from age
Hmm.
from birth to age 5, those are the very sensitive time.
It's
And
very crucial.
what happened is the curtains of life is open up, and the
Hmm.
parents, the aunts, the uncles, the teachers become the actors or the actress. And so the child is looking at these
Yes.
behavior that's observation. Or
Hmm.
listen to the information that's repetition information that's being provided,
That's correct.
and
Hmm.
also the words that come out of the mouth. Now, this is what shapes the belief system, and the belief system is the conscience, the conscience. That's your belief system. That's where your values are, and
Your morals.
when your
Hmm.
morals. And so, when you hear information that is opposite of what has been deposited into your belief system, then you make a compare and contrast. That if I accept that, that's fine. If not, I might just push it aside. Like
That's right.
those who are listening now, your conscience is listening very carefully and see if
Mhm.
it match up, or see if it's something that it want to accept and delete something that may not be right. And we'll go further into
Yes.
that. Then now what happens? You have the conscious, CONSCIOUSC. That's like the Federal
Mhm.
Express, and so you don't have to think about it automatically. In your behavior takes place. So, say for instance, the first time you learn how to drive, your conscience, CONSCINCE, was it was being deposited in the belief system, paying attention to everything. Now you're a
Mhm.
pro when you drive. You can put your makeup on and drive, and how and for real. And
Oh my gosh.
how many of you guys have driven somewhere and you don't even know how you got there, but you got there?
Yes,
That means the Federal Express carried you there. That means it's
exactly.
automatically within you.
Uh-huh.
So we have to so that's how that belief system is taking place. And Pam, we talked about, so when we look at that timeline, within that
Mhm.
timeline, there's a different types of mindsets that were taking place. We talk about there's a generational mindset.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
if your parents had dysfunctional behaviors,
Mhm.
and then they never corrected, and that's all you were exposed to, then you
Mhm.
think that's normal. Okay?
Yes.
All right? You think
That's the learned behavior that
that
you learn. Mhm.
exactly. And so there's
Mhm.
generational mindsets. We talk about the repetition information, what words were put out to shape your thoughts, through
Mhm.
modeling past experience of yourself, what parents,
Mhm.
Pam was talking about. She heard what her family said, but then she started experiencing herself and then
Yes.
experiences of others. So we want to let you know that's where that mindset is, how it is developed. Your belief
Mhm.
system develop your attitude, then your attitude comes out through your behavior. So
That's so
so
true.
I hope everybody understand is that your mind is very powerful, but watch this, but your
Mhm.
mind needs to be trained. Somebody write that down. Your mind is very powerful. That's why it needs to be trained. That's why it
Mhm.
needs to be tamed, because your mind, if it's not tamed correctly, it can make you do things that are not healthy for you. Is that about right, Pamela?
That's so true. I want to go back just a little bit. I don't want us to brush over.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about the repetitious information, and I was thinking about that as I was preparing. And here's the thing: when you if you're not taught, I want to make sure I look at my nose and don't forget. If you're not taught not to accept certain behaviors or to accept certain words that's thrown at you or said to you, then you would take those words, and then you would your identity would begin to shape
Mm-hmm.
according to those words. So you have to, if a young man or a young lady don't have a great role model in front of them to tell them, no, you know, that's not you, you know, no, don't do that type of behavior, then you will take on that, and that becomes your that begins to shape you until you learn better. Okay. And then another thing I wanted to also make sure is, you know, as you're growing up, you know, on the playground, you hear people say different things, you this or you that, and then you grow up, and some adults still have those words, you know, those that inner critic voice still in their mind,
Mm-hmm.
telling them everything that that person told them when they were on the playground way back in second or third grade. And you wonder what happened. What happens is they never got a chance to really like process that with someone. And so again, whatever that person said in the sandbox, you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you have, like I said, someone around you that's cultivating you along your life journey, that timeline, letting you know what information to keep and what not to keep.
And you know what, Pamela, and if you want to take it even further,
Yeah.
words are like arrows that lead you in the direction that you should go, but build trees on the inside of you.
Yes, they do.
And then
Yes,
when
they
you
do.
keep hearing those words over, that's is falling on those that soil, and they're being watered, and
Yes.
those trees will grow up in you, and they're displayed. The fruits are displayed through your behavior. And
Hmm.
sometimes people wonder, why am I attracted to this person like this, or why?
Yes.
Because you have toxic. Here I go. You
Toxic traits.
you have no, you have toxic trees that need to be cut down. Trees that can grow in. You need
Not
to
even cut, prune.
prune, whack those.
Prune,
Hey, whack those,
pick from
baby.
the root. And yeah, pick from the root.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then people wonder, and like it's an aha moment. People are walking around with these trees, and what do you say? What you mean by tree? Is because words are like seeds, and they go inside of you, and they keep being watered down based upon what you see, what you hear, and they, and
Hmm.
and they're cultivating those seeds that they grow and develop,
Hmm.
and the only way you can tell what's on the inside of you is the fruit or the behavior that's taken place.
Yes.
And that's the only way we're going to talk about later about change is going to take place. We got to look at your mind and how you think, and
Mhm.
how you think. Then we got to replace those thoughts what we're talking about, so we can deal with what is growing on the inside. So we can revamp or just eradicate their identity and build up a
Yes.
new identity. And I don't want to go ahead
Yes.
of ourselves,
Reprogram that. Yes.
but this is what R.C. Blake said. R.C. Blake
Mhm.
says this. He said, "Your conscience,
Mhm.
CONSCIENCE, mind, programmed to value healthy relationships." So your
Mm.
conscious mind needs to be programmed. Somebody write that down. Needs to be programmed to value healthy relationships. Isn't that good?
That's good.
Has to be
Yeah.
programmed. You have to be you just can't get out there and say, I'm going to have this kind of relationship. You have to have a mind that is programmed.
Mhm.
That's just like royalty. You can't say, well, I'm gonna go like the king and the queen. Their mind had to be programmed in order to be
Yes.
royalty.
Yes.
That's deep. Their mind had to be programmed in
Mhm.
order to operate in the level of being a king and a queen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And that's what I was saying a while back when I was saying that my dad's voice or that conversation wasn't consistently. Although you're taught, you have to experience and have conversations over and over so you can kind of get it.
Mhm,
You know, it's just not going to happen one time because you're talking about a kid.
mhm,
You're not talking about, you know, an adult. Kids have a hard time grabbing on to are grasping, you know, certain thing
mhm,
lifestyles and the way you should go about things. You have to spend time
mhm,
with that child
mhm,
to tell them and not just say not you just telling them, you want to explain why they need to behave like this, or why they want to carry themselves in this type of way, because your child may feel like you're just coming on them, and you don't want them to be like kids say, you don't want me to be me, but you're teaching them. You remember how you said earlier that you teach your daughter how to have a royal, to to act, how to be treated right, and what royalty looks like. And I thought, wow, that was so powerful, because look where you're starting with her now. Just
Mm-hmm.
imagine where she's going to be at when she's a teenager, so that's really good. And you're not doing it just only one time, right?
No.
You're constantly teaching her. That's what people need.
Well,
Yes.
the question, and the people fail to realize, and this is not to put up a guilt trip or whatever, this is just being real.
Mhm.
But how, and you talking about children and the timeline, how can you correct your children if you haven't even corrected yourself?
There it is.
There it is, right?
There it
Your
is.
child are seeing you in any kind of relation, for people seeing,
Mhm.
they're seeing you in this kind of relationship. They know something is not right.
Yes.
And because it's displayed through their behavior that they're not happy. And
Mhm.
some people, and that I consider that selfish. I know when I was counseling couples or whatever, and
Mhm.
they made that quiet decision. Their child's coming in for depression, or they've been misused by the boyfriend or whatever,
Mhm.
and but they're not willing to let go of this person, for
Mm-mm.
the sake of their happiness, but their child, that timeline is being disturbed. You see what I'm saying? That timeline, there's a
Yes.
disruption, there's a disruptive thought that's in that child's life that is
Mhm.
stagnating their growth mentally. There's that watch is vandalizing their soul so it can be productive, so they can be healthy adults. And
Yes, that's
and
so true.
isn't that so true?
Oh,
And
it's so important.
when you have to think about, children have so much wisdom, and
They do.
when children tell you, "Mom, I don't like that person," or whatever,
Mhm.
you people need to
You should
listen.
listen. You should listen.
Why, Pam?
Yes.
Why, Pamela?
Well, because kids don't wake up and just make up things in their mind, and then they want to start trouble. Now, I know that sometimes teenagers can be, a little different,
Mhm,
but for the most part, if you are good to a child is going to remember that. But if you are not good, and especially if you're not good to their mom, or if you're not good to their dad, and this parent is good to them, they're going to let you know.
mhm,
They're not going to sugarcoat it. Kids don't have a filter. They say what's on their heart.
mhm,
Adults kind of like, we kind of be careful about what we're going to say, but not kids.
mhm,
They are going to say it. So it brings me back to one day I was at home, and I can't even remember what I was doing, but I overheard one of my daughters. I'm just going to say that one of my daughters, I'm not going to say who, but I overheard her on the phone,
mhm,
telling someone, and I wrote it down so I can remember. I heard her say, I'm like my mom. She had that attitude. I'm like my mom. She's like, I don't play. So to me, when she said, and
mhm,
they were all kids at home, but when she said that resonated in me. That let me know that, okay, Pam, they're watching you.
mhm,
Whatever you're doing, whatever decisions you're making, I
mhm,
have to set aside some things that I might want or feel like I desire, because it's crucial that I model in front of my girls
mhm.
the right proper behavior. I'm not saying I was perfect, but it was so crucial then when I heard her say that. So to me, it was almost her telling this person, like, look, I'm like my mama. My mama don't play, so I don't play. She was warning that person, letting them know. And it was so funny to me, but no, when I think about it, that was very important. What if I wasn't modeling the right behavior? I
Mhm,
wonder what she would have said. And
mhm,
had I heard it, would it have crushed my soul? Would it have had me to get myself together?
mhm, mhm.
So it's very crucial that we model the behavior that we want in front of our kids. And it's very important that you watch who you bring around your kids as well.
See, there you go. Because from 0 to 5, well, those are the prime age. Because when
Hmm.
5, well, after 5, they come to be more independent thinker. Okay.
Yes.
But the whole point I'm saying is that
Mhm.
we want our children, and even ourselves, we want to have the right relationship, but
Yes.
have to go back and
Mhm.
where was it within that timeline did we have a message, observational message, a repetition, information, experience, where back in that time that it created a blueprint on the canvas of our imagination. This is the type of relationship that we should have. And that's what people, I say this, and this what came to me. But if you out of a relationship, don't go back into that relationship until you deal with your mental issues about a relationship, and
Mhm.
make sure. And it's going back. It's called tilling the ground. You know how they take that soil
Mhm.
and turn. I'm gonna talk about
Mhm.
it later.
Turn it around.
Turn it
Mhm.
around so they can put the proper nutrients. And some people, and even
Mhm.
somebody in this audience, you're going to need to put the right nutrients in your mind. So,
Yes.
and then you're going to have to start meditating what a healthy relationship look like, which we're going to talk
Mhm.
about dating and all later on. And before you even go back in, before you become
Mhm.
available for a relationship, because you go right back into the same situation.
Right back.
And when people wonder why I'm so frustrated, I'm not happy in the relationship that I'm in,
Mhm.
because you did not take the time to analyze your mindset, change your identity, and so that you can be in that right place to know what you should not settle for, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that you said that because it brought I thought about something when someone says, how do you know when it's the right time for you to exit? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you know it's the right time, and everyone is different, so hear me clearly. Every man is different, every woman is different.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to where you are just you fed up,
Mm-hmm.
there is no more fight in you, then you know that it is time to exit from that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whether it is intimate relationship or friendship, when you are giving more in that friendship, we talking about friendship now, not intimate couples. If you are showing up being a good friend, and your friend is not showing up being a good friend, they're not welcoming when you come around, they always irritable, or they acting moody, and they're different, that is your sign to let you know that that friendship is no longer a friendship, and it's time for you to exit. Now, relationships, intimate relationships, are different because it just depends on if you're married versus when you're not married. And sure, you can chime in on that part.
I'm a chime. Hey, ding ding.
Because
Okay,
I'm very careful about marriage
right.
relationships.
I
What
I
I would say, very
I'm not
careful.
telling anybody to leave anybody, but I'm telling you this:
Hmm.
if you in an abusive relationship,
Hmm.
you're gonna have to make a decision to separate
Hmm.
yourself until that person gets a help, or if it's detrimental, that it's close to death experience for you, you have to
Yes.
get out. We're just gonna break
Yeah.
it. If a
Yes.
if you becoming very ill because this person is unfaithful, because I have clients I've talked, and they're unfaithful to you, your
Hmm.
health is deteriorating, they have, and it's open that they are fooling around on you, you need to get out. Okay,
Hmm.
that's the bottom line. Because first of all, if I asked you, did God? If let's be real, if I asked, did God tell you that that was a person for you? No. Did you feel in your heart that that wasn't a person for you? No. Okay, now you dealing with some different ground. So there's some different reason. Now in a
Hmm.
relationship, when both sides decide that they want to get help and you grow and develop, that's a different story. But when the other
Yes.
party doesn't care, they don't care about your health, they don't care about your soul, and you and your body is very, and you getting very sick, stressed out, don't know what's going on, you need to remove yourself so you can get back, your peace have already left, so you better have to go find your peace, catch up with peace, and you're gonna have to take care of that body, get your identity back, get yourself back, and then once you get that, then you know the next steps what to do. And that
Hmm.
is, and some people stay in it, well, I'm gonna stay in it and da da da. And then when you leave this earth, they going on by their business.
Hmm.
And see, everybody doesn't definitely not. See, I'm just gonna tell you just like it. I refuse to let somebody stay in a relationship and their health is deteriorating, and that other person is the cause of their body deteriorating, and they don't care. So they have to, you have to make that decision. You have to employ with the bottom line is take care of yourself. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Mhm.
And if that means
Mhm.
separating yourself for a while, then get yourself together. And then if you guys decide that you okay, this person said, well, I want to change, and you go counseling, great. But if the person tell you first, if they was fooling around and they tell you, look, I don't plan to change, then hey, you have to do what you have to do because you have children looking at you
Mm.
and you have to be responsible. So that is I am not an advocate of divorce. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that you need to know how to take care of yourself because there's a lot of beautiful women and men who stayed in
Amen.
there and they're not here today for whatever reason.
Yeah. Or if they are here, then it takes you some time to kind of get your body, your mind, and your soul back healthy because you're constantly healing. I remember when I was exiting out of my my marriage, I had to make again, I
Mhm.
was thinking about my girls. I had to make a decision
Mhm.
to exit out of that marriage because it was not healthy. I didn't want my girls to grow up, and later and say, Mom, why did you stay in that?
Mhm.
We saw this and we saw that. Back in the days, people were like, oh, I'm gonna stick in because I don't want the kids or my child growing up without their father.
Mhm.
They can visit.
Mhm.
They can do visits.
Mhm.
They can have separate. They can go to the person's house and they can live with you and come to your house. However, but you don't have to stay in something that's unhealthy when
Mhm.
you know it's tearing you down because you have to be your best self as a man. You have to be your best self, and as a woman, you have to be your best self so you can show up for that child.
And all that
Don't
where. Mhm.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
so don't feel like you have to stay in a situation because your child is going to lose out on something. If you are a part of that child's life, they're not going to miss out on anything. The
Right.
only difference is they're going to know you're under the same roof.
Right.
That's it.
Bernadine in Power Potential, she said, "Run," and then
Yeah.
someone said, the power of choice is a great power." Yes, it is,
Yes,
and
it is.
so so though you just have to employ. And the bottom line, that is a very touchy subject because a lot of people, well,
Hmm.
you stay into the end, you have to suffer. Who said you have to suffer? No, no.
Yeah.
And then people feel guilty. I made the wrong decision, so I'm gonna have to stay in. Look, all of us have got off in one time or another in different situations off the wrong exit in life. Like my brother
Yes.
said, and
Hmm.
we get off the wrong exit, you make mistakes, you run across the wrong people. He said, "Get back on the freeway of life and keep on driving." And I thought that was well stated, said by my brother. But
Yes, there was.
let me move on for a moment. And this says the middle. Let's get to the middle.
Yes.
What behavior and identity becomes the byproduct of one mindset? So what behavior and identity becomes the byproduct of one's mindset? Because you remember the words produce thoughts, thoughts affect the emotions trigger the feelings, and the feelings dictate to the behavior. And so we came up with a couple of them, the results of a naive mindset.
Hmm.
And that naive mindset, Pamela, and the Authentic Talk family, that means basically is that you have a vulnerable mindset. Uh-huh.
Yes.
And the morals,
Hmm.
there was no morally sound beliefs or values have been
Hmm.
cultivated through modeling, repetition, informations or words. It's just and it's vulnerable because your parents' mindset was vulnerable because their parents. It's a generational transmission. It's a generational mindset, and so my question is to you is that, and follow me careful. When you have that vulnerable mindset, then that will attract you to people that may not necessarily be healthy for you. You be vulnerable when you hear somebody that's real cute and they got the right words and so forth. It seems like they got it to going together, but on the inside they're hellish. You don't know what's going on with them, and you become vulnerable in that relationship because, like Pamela said, Marissa says, you have no constitutional mindset. What is
No.
what is your mind? What's the constitution for your mindset? What are the values? What do you stand for? And is it solid enough in order to meet somebody in a relationship, in order to engage in a relationship, not only a boyfriend or girlfriend, but also for friendship?
Hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking in terms of like when you are have a naive mindset, excuse me, another that to me that's like you're broken. you're broken in some places. So
Mm-hmm.
broken is always going to meet broken.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, broken will meet, someone of a different caliber, different level, or a prestigious, level, and that person don't mind healing you in the areas that are broken. But most of the time, broken is going to meet broken. And so what happens is the dominant person that's broken is going to take advantage of the one that's naive,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to have you doing things that you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to settle, you're going to dummy down for certain things. You're not going to be able to be your best or be your full potential, because they're afraid for you to become your full potential, because they know once you get your mind together and your mind and your emotions line up, you
Mm-hmm.
gone.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be there any longer. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, broken always meet broken.
Right. And Power Potential Bernadine said that she said she's definitely not an advocate of divorce, but she experienced divorce twice, and because they were both mentally unstable. And when somebody's
Mm,
mentally unstable, they're not safe for you or your whole household.
yeah, and I'll say when they double minded too,
Mm.
just all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
doing all kind of things, never settled, never what is it, never satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
no self-control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into briefly, let's talk about the manipulative coal mindset. The
Hmm.
manipulate, and I hope everybody, the Authentic family, you take it down. No, you get all these different mindsets, and we're just hitting the bases. But there's so many different kind of mindsets that exist here amongst people, and so let's talk about that co-manipulative mindset. And I had put in our notes that sometimes people have this manipulative co-mindset on your job and even in relationships because they want to
Hmm.
be. Somebody write down a manipulative mindset or cold mindset, and because number one, they want to guard their heart based upon their timeline and what happened to them, maybe trauma or whatever. Somebody didn't keep their word with them, a lot of disappointments in life, or that cold mindset. They can just be so just shrewd. They can just be so cold that it's just cold as ice. And they have this mindset, and that's how they enter into relationships. And people wonder, well, why he or she, or even friends, why can't they connect with me emotionally? I'm going through something, and I hear that I'm going through something, and I'm telling them that I'm not feeling well or whatever, and they have no response. They're not saying I'm praying for you. They're not saying I'm right here by your side. It's like you didn't say nothing at all. That's a manipulative, cold mindset. On your job, I remember sometime on my job, you know, you have sometimes you have bosses. I remember on the job, and you wonder, and when you try to make sure you get everything done or whatever, and they're plotting against you, and you're doing well for the organization, but they're constantly. I like to say there are some people who never go to bed. They're always thinking evil, what they can do and plot for the next day. They get a hype. They get excited about doing. They're manipulative and cold because they want what they want, and they don't look at other. They don't look at the whole thing. They have no sensitivity whatsoever. And Pamela, and in relationships, and I said the person is self-centered. I believe that we say that, but what impact does that type of mindset have on a relationship? That cold manipulative mindset, and that really sound like a narcissistic person too, kind
I
of.
was just thinking that. I want to say, so Marie said, I missed it, Marie, but she was basically talking about the mindset and their intentions.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Marie, for that comment. Yeah, so I want to go back a tiny bit when you talk about the workplace, not the workplace, but the person you're talking about. Sometimes it's backed by fear. A lot of that mind manipulative is backed by fear. And so maybe that person is feeling like before they get me, I'm going to get them. And usually, people are not thinking like that. But when you have that kind of mindset, you're constantly on that hamster wheel,
Mm-hmm.
just trying to find something out. That, yeah, you're right. It says manipulative mindset can and will plot against you.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's I wrote
yes, it's
down.
fear. Yeah, it's all fear. But in regards to, I was thinking too, narcissistic when you were talking about those characteristics, because I was thinking also, I wrote down all about them. And it's not gonna never be about you. It's gonna be always about them. And if you make anything about yourself,
Mm,
then it's not going to be valid. It's
mm,
going to be like the dumbest ideal. They're going to make you think it's like the dumbest ideal because that's that cold
mhm,
mindset, that cold hearted person. They
mm,
don't want you to feel like you are actually right when you are right. And it's
mm,
so sad. And then another thing I was thinking, you know how we hear, and I'm not knocking if people say that, but I hear this word thrown around a lot. Happy wife, happy life. And that's not always true. Sometimes, yeah, you probably want to do some things to make your spouse happy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hear me out, there's nothing wrong with that. But you also want to make sure, you guys are fighting fair,
mm.
or you're thinking of that person as well as they're thinking of you. It's equal. It's never just only that person is the one that's going to get their way, and then not anything you want, you don't get it. So that's where the unfairness come in, and that's when it starts to bring upon division in the relationship.
You know what, Pamela? I want a question, and maybe you can recall, and then next time we provide, if we can, the person who has a manipulative, cold mindset. Let's do that first.
Uh-huh.
I wonder what stage of Erickson did they get stuck in?
Oh, let me think. I want to take it back to when they was in their first stage,
Mm,
that trust versus mistrust.
mm-hmm,
Because here's the thing about trust versus mistrust. We all need that. It's crucial. You may say, why, Pam? We were so little, we were babies. Between the ages of newborn and 2 years old, you depended on your mom or your dad to get up and get that bottle, to change your wet diaper,
mm-hmm,
to make sure you were fed, to make sure you were protected. If you were afraid, they would pick you up and grab you and hold you, may even give you a lot of kisses and hugs. And imagine if you didn't get that. So
mm-hmm,
if you're not receiving love and the attention and you're not cared for, how do you grow up and love other people?
mm-hmm,
How do you learn how to do that if you don't know anything about affection? If you already know from day one out the gate, you can't trust anybody.
mm-hmm.
So how? So I'm going to say a narcissist, I'll take it all the way back to that 0 to 2 stage,
Mm-hmm.
2 year old stage.
And if
Yes.
the overall spectrum, the Maslow hierarchy of need wasn't being,
Yes.
even for the naive mindset, it was
No,
it wasn't, if it wasn't met,
it
and it was,
wasn't meant.
and you wasn't explained to you, become naive and vulnerable, because in a sense
Hmm.
that you're searching for those things, but you don't
Yes.
know how to get those things. You don't even know how to get the right relationship.
No. How
Mm-hmm.
do you know the right relationship if you're not taught?
Mm-hmm.
You're just out there in the world and you're looking for any ounce of a person
Mm-hmm.
that's going to somewhat treat you right. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know that, one week if they're mean to you and moody and cold, you don't recognize that that's not right, because
Mm-hmm.
someone that loves you, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to treat you good all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what love is. When
Consi-
there is consistent, when they don't love you, your relationship, like I said last week, is built upon lust.
mm-hmm. Oop. And then Pamela, oh, I was just thinking this. And then when you try, and that's why that's why
Yes.
it's good to, when telling people they in this relationship, you're trying to convince them to get out, and they keep defending that person, is because then you are battling with the inner their mental image that they have already in the canvas of their imagination, because they have to be the one that rewrite the mental image on the canvas of the imagination. So when you're trying to convince them, get words of wisdom, they make up excuses, they keep facing the same thing over and over again. You go, first of all, you going against their will, one. And then number
Mhm.
two is that you're trying to rewrite something on their canvas of imagination that they don't want to be rewritten. They don't want anybody to write on it. They don't want it right
Yeah. Well, they are probably in a stage of hope.
now.
They're
Oh.
in a stage of hope in
Mm,
that relationship,
mhm,
friendship, or feeling like they hope that
mhm,
the other person can get it together. So
mhm,
then they can say, okay, this is why, I'm still with the person, or this is why we're still friends, because they were in that hope stage with them.
mhm,
Once they make up their mind, and here's the key:
mhm,
a person, we can tell our friends and our family members till we purple and green what we think that we should happen. That person has to make up their mind.
mhm,
It's best to, you can plant some seeds, but it's best to pull back from once you plant those seeds it's best to pull back, because if you stay in the mix of it, then
Mhm.
they're going to even stay even longer to prove
Mhm.
that that person can be better, or that this friendship can be good, and
Mhm.
then you find out later, yourself, okay, no, maybe this wasn't the best, ideal. Maybe my mom or my cousin or uncle, whatever, was right. But they have to make their mind up and see for themselves. That's a part of also going along with, they have to have the will.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you don't have a made up mind, and you don't have a will.
And that goes back us growing up. Our parents may not like the person so much and they knew what the person's about.
Hmm.
Like my dad would tell you one time and then
Hmm.
he'll leave it, but he wouldn't didn't bother you. And what I liked about it, it
Hmm.
allowed you to see about that person. And then you
Yes.
made the decision to get out. And so many times, you tell people, look, leave them alone, because more you say something, the more they'll like them even more so. But
Yes.
once you back out and let them let them see what they need to see. Then
Hmm.
they make that transition what they need to do. But Pamela, here it is, and we're gonna end it on this. Is the Let me just give you briefly. We're just gonna give you a couple or three,
Hmm.
and then we're gonna reconvene. But the next one's the mental growth. Somebody write that down.
Hmm.
Mental growth, or
Yes.
put a slash healing of the mind.
Hmm.
Somebody might be out there might saying, well, how do I have mental growth? How do I have healing of the mind? I'm tired of the relationships, the friendships, and the relationships that I may be in. And I'm always not
Hmm.
choosing the right friends, or I'm attracted to the wrong friends. I'm attracted to the wrong person. I'm tired of going in this circle. So somebody type in mental growth and the healing of the mind. So the question is, how do one reprogram his or her mind? Because the word says, so a man thinks, so is he. So as a woman thinks, so is she. So it's all up
Hmm.
in that mind that's
Hmm.
taken place. And we said the first one that you have to have a will, and the soul is comprised of the mind, the emotions, the will, and the intellect. And we want to look at that will. You have to have a will. What do you mean by that? Somebody type in, you have to have a desire that wants to change. That means you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired. You're sick and tired of being abused. You're sick and tired of being used. You are. You just as so you
Yes.
have
Yes.
and watch this. You come to the point there's something better. You just don't know what it is, but you
You
know.
know it's better.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So you have to have the will
Hmm.
to want to make that change. And then bam, I think we said then you have to, and I'm gonna let you hit on that. We have to address, once you have the will, now you got to be willing to go through this process, address the toxic thoughts or thoughts that are associated with that mindset that needs to be changed. Hit on that, Pamela. You have to address, and when they come into therapy, eventually we're gonna have them address the problem. We have to address the thoughts. And
Yes.
everybody keeps saying, why we keep saying thought? Because it's in your mind. The words produce thoughts. That mind is the big thing right there. And a lot of our minds been leading us into relationships, leading us in certain things,
Hmm.
rather than we lead in our mind is leading us. So get
Hmm.
that, Pamela, about addressing toxic thoughts or thoughts.
Yeah. So I always tell someone, when you are addressing, these thoughts,
Hmm.
you want to first find out what actually happened to you. What happened to you to cause you to have these thoughts?
Hmm.
Because then when you know what happened to you, hopefully you don't repeat that same scenario, or you'll see the red flag coming, or that'll be a trigger for you, and you'll know what that means. If your stomach start to feel a certain way when you with someone, and you're like,
Hmm.
oh, this remind me of something, so this is not quite healthy. Also, when you said something about, and I missed it, about the first part about the mind, reprogramming the mind, but you said when you get with someone, and I was thinking, if you are still, because you're going to always be healing, if you're healing and you meet someone and you like that person, be honest with them about where you at.
Hmm.
Okay, so they'll know that if you respond a certain way, they'll know that something may have bothered you, or something may have triggered you, and ask them to be patient with you as you learn how to accept what a healthy relationship looks like, or a healthy friendship. also. And then one thing I wanted to say also is once you acknowledge what happens to you, be honest about how you feel in that moment. We're so quick to somebody saying, "Oh, how you doing?" or "How you feeling?" and we'll be like, "Oh, I'm good," "Oh, I'm fine," and you know you're really not that. Now, I'm not saying go tell everybody your business, but people that you know that you can trust, be honest about that. You may not be in the best place, but you just be honest. If you don't want to talk about it, just say, you know what, I'm not my best, but it's something that is, I don't want to talk about it at this time. Be honest about that, because if you can't be honest to yourself about it, how do you go about to do this change? How do you reprogram your mind
Mm-hmm.
if you're still, carrying the old behaviors? And it was something that we missed, Cheryl, but I want to go back to it. We talked about the past experiences. When you get away from these situations, you have to, as this is helping you with the mental growth, you have to stay away. You can't go back into the environment that hurt you. You can't go back into being around that person and thinking like, okay, we can be friends because I'm all right. I'm gonna be healing. I'm gonna be healing. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not healthy for you to do that while you're healing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you have children, it's dangerous grounds. If you have children, then you do your very best that you can to communicate whatever it is you need to communicate for the kids,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have to sit on the phone and entertain and conversate with that person or see them somewhere or meet. You don't have to do that because it's not healthy for you. The wound is still open. Okay.
And you know what, Pamela, and welcome James Avery. I think I saw him on my profile. Welcome to the podcast. But I
Yes.
said something. Let's go back. If you don't have the will, if there,
Hmm.
listen to this carefully, Authentic Talk family. If there's no mental growth, your emotions, feelings, behavior, social
Hmm.
patterns, and morals will remain the standard in which you use to establish relationships.
Yes.
And that's what, and you said it perfect, is
Mhm.
that you have to learn that. And a lot of people don't want to go in their mind and renovate rooms, because there's memories, like rooms are like
Oh, it
memories,
is.
a lot of rooms that need to be clean. And a
Mhm.
lot of people don't want to let go of certain relationship because, number one, they don't want to be alone.
Mm.
Number two, they feel like they can't find someone else, or they can't find friends. And then number three, the time that they invested. I put a lot of time into this relationship or this friendship.
Mhm.
And all of those are, watch this, all of those become pictures that you're hanging in the walls of your mind.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that is so important. And you said something right that perfectly. And I think we're going to, and on that, then you have to, Pamela, you said that you have to physically and mentally, you have to get away from the environment. Listen to me,
Have
kid,
to get away.
that opposes your mental growth.
Yeah. That hurt you.
Mhm, mhm,
Mhm.
mhm. And
Yeah.
and then the last of all, we said disruptive thoughts. You have to have
Mhm.
disruptive thoughts and words that promote mental growth. And that's
Mhm.
what I gave the example of tilling the process. It says the tilling process helped the soil to um, turn loose, which makes the nutrients presented in the
Mhm.
soil distributed evenly, and thus improve the growth process. But here's the key thing: there's a lot of four ways, for the tilling of the soil. It
Mhm.
plays an essential part in removing unwanted herbs and weeds.
Mhm.
So the tilling process is very important because it removes unwanted emotions,
Yes.
feelings, thoughts, even eventually people from your life that
Mm.
would prevent and trees, because we've been saying trees grow. Remove all those things that prevent you from having a mental growth. And
Yeah.
when we say mental growth, is that when you go through a relationship, friendship, or whatever, and it didn't turn out right, you should have learned from that. That's mental growth. That mature
Yes.
that what you learn, that wisdom, that maturity growth,
Mhm.
what it does is this: it makes your mind, once you make those changes, your mind will start to respect you more.
Yes. And that is how you know that you are growing,
Mm-hmm.
when you can acknowledge
Mm-hmm.
and when I hope I'm not losing it, but when you see the things that you could go back and reflect on, okay, what went wrong in this situation? What part did I play in it? Did I stay too long? Did I talk about this too long? Did I do this or whatever it may be? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you know that you're growing, you're learning that, thank you, you're learning from the situation, and you don't repeat those things over and over. So that's how you know that the growth mindset is taking place, because you learn from that situation. Yes, it was a bump in the road. Oh yeah, it was a mistake, but it's not a defining. It doesn't define you. It's not gonna be the rest of your life. It's gonna be oh, okay, I remember this, and this is how I got out of it, and I'm moving forward, and you don't have to look back. You don't have to look in that rearview mirror in your car, because your windshield in front of you is very, very big and bright. Okay, focus on that big windshield glass in front of you, and not on that rearview mirror in your car.
And
Okay.
and you know what I was thinking about, Pamela, what you start talking about is that when we go through these mental growth, when we go through these relationships and we get the hardships and learn what it is,
Mhm.
eventually weaning us off milk, and
Oh yeah.
eventually we're going to start having the meat, and then we're chewing on the meat.
Yes.
We're in a new and healthy environment. That is
Mhm.
mental growth. When we have the right words that solidify our new identity, that's mental
Mhm.
growth. That means we're coming off the milk, because you can only have milk for so long. You need
For
some
so
meat.
long.
You need some
Yeah.
more substance to help you to grow,
Mhm.
develop. And the whole key thing, I think, is this, is that when a relationship, friendship, or whatever the case may be, relationship, a friendship or
Mhm.
relationship, if it
Mhm.
doesn't turn out right, then
Mhm.
you have learned
Learn.
and moved on. You've learned,
Yes.
feeling guilty about it.
Mhm.
Look, that person was just not for you. Those friends were not for you because they didn't have the
Mhm.
right shoes on to walk out the destiny that was
Yes.
for your life.
Mhm.
And
They
that
didn't have it.
but that mindset, ladies and gentlemen, is so important. The biggest challenge you will have in your life is the balance
Mhm.
of the mind. And
Mhm.
once you know how to balance the mind and balance the emotion, you have that rhythmic flow that helps you to live
Yeah.
this life, to walk out this journey in life.
Yes.
And people just think people think that they can think just the way they want to think. You can't think like that, because your mind was designed to be spoken to.
Yes.
It was designed to be tame, because the mind
Mhm.
doesn't know the difference between real and not real.
Yeah. And you can't grow if you stay where you're at. If you wanna grow,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be willing to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And like she said, don't carry around the shame or the disappointed. It happened. Life happened to all of us,
Mm-hmm.
and life happened to me. And when I say I'm thriving, I'm thriving.
Oh, you're really good.
I'm thriving. I'm
Right, very good.
excited I'm super excited about life, and I mean that. So, and you can be super excited about life as well, and you can thrive, and whatever word you want to use for yourself, but you can do those things. Life can happen, and
Mm-hmm.
just learn from it and don't repeat it. And like you say, like Cheryl said, if somebody is not a part of your destiny, they're not going to stay anyways. It's gonna resolve.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Let me leave it on this, and I'm gonna have you do the about the counseling. We're done. I
Sure.
think I wrote a word of encouragement, and I said this is
Yeah.
someone disrespect your peace,
Hmm.
then they are not the one.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. Your mind has to, the reason why your mind has to have peace is allow for you to make the right decisions. It
Oh
allows
yeah.
it allows you to be creative and do what you were called to
Mm.
do in life. And when
Yes.
you're adding another person in your life and they don't have that flow and they disrupt your
Mhm.
peace,
Yeah.
and if you're not married to them, like someone said, run, Forrest,
Mhm.
run.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. You're so right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Pamela, do the therapy about anybody who need
Sure.
service, and then we're done.
Yeah. So if you are in need of therapy, please utilize the website Psychology Today and Therapy for Black Girls. You can also utilize your member service number if you have private insurance. They can help you find a therapist. If you are in California or in Bakersfield, let's narrow it down. My colleague Naisha Davis, she was on here earlier. I'm not sure if she's still on, but she has two offices. One is called Inspire Me Counseling and Wellness Center,
Mm.
and the other one is called Life Connection. You can call her and to seek therapy.
Mm.
And there's another young lady that we had on our live maybe about a month and a half ago. Her name is Carla Garcia. She and her husband Louis have a business called CNL Services. They're in Bakersfield, California. You can utilize their office as well for some counseling services.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. And
Somebody said red. Exactly.
all right. Well, we Authentic Family, I challenge you next time to bring two people with you. Invite them.
Yes.
We're gonna build this family. Like somebody used to say,
Mhm.
let's build on this.
Yes.
And so we look forward to seeing you next week, which we'll be talking about the mindset that is wrapped in jealousy. I want to hear about
Yes.
that one.
I'm ready for
Uh,
it.
and so everyone continue to have a blessed evening.
Yes.
We'll see you next week. Bye.